Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It is a beautiful Wednesday morning. Today is Wednesday, October 1st, 2025. So today is important for a couple reasons. Here we are at the beginning of a new month, and we are also on the first day of the fourth quarter of the year. So those dates can be useful as we think about planning for our business, and that'll be our topic we'll get into in just a moment. So screen should be shared. You've got our website, which is 509pacific.org. If you are looking for funding, you can go to our simple landing page, guaranteedfunding.org. Our text support line, again, text, not phone call, but text, is 903-347-8042. We put, I think most, probably 99% of past trainings are up on our YouTube channel. So if you want to reflect back and if you need to schedule a call. Our background, of course, is the same as it was yesterday and the day before and so forth. But the bottom line is we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We've received a grant. We have three mandates. We've had a number of questions regarding the federal government shutting down as of 12:01 a.m. Eastern this morning. Does that affect us? And no, the grant is pre-funded, so we're okay through the end of the year. Three mandates. Number one is to improve financial literacy. Had a lot of good feedback from yesterday's discussion talking about what does it take to have a credible, a fundable business. A lot of it's common sense to you, but there's a lot of people that don't know what you and I know. So building financial literacy is an important part of what we do. And those of you who are distribution partners, we encourage you to embrace that as well. Secondly, we provide free shelf corps. The reason we do that is it provides a nice, clean foundation to do the capital raise off of, which is number three, helping clients get funding to start to grow their business to reach their potential. So this is what we do. And then for those of you that are distribution partners, we seek to collaborate with you. All right, so let's go ahead and revisit the fact that today is the first of the month. And so what we do, and I suspect many of you do, we have 638 of you on as of this moment. Most of us, when we start a new month, will pause and reflect for last month. So as of today's recording, September is the most recent complete month. How did last month go? Did you hit your income expectations last month as an entrepreneur? Because what do we do as entrepreneurs? We solve other people's problems. Every entrepreneur offers some good and/or services to help people solve their problems and gets paid. So before we go into our today's topic, let's get some audience participation. We're up to 639 of you now. Can you just respond in the Q&A, the question and answer box of Zoom? Did you hit your financial goals last month in September? So Abner and Amanda and Ben and Bernard and Bilal, if all of you can take just a moment and go ahead and just respond. I'm not going to share with anyone else. You don't have to put in numbers, but I'm just curious. Did you meet your goals last month? And it's okay if you didn't. It's great if you did. But I just would like to get kind of a measure of how we are. Now, if any of you have a tendency to respond to say, well, I don't know, then that's not good, right? Because we definitely want to have goals. And that ties into our topic today. And what do we see here is the quote at the bottom of the visible area. I'll advance the page in a moment. But it states, failing to plan is planning to fail. I didn't make that up. Frankly, I don't even know who made it up, but it's a well-known phrase, been around a long time. And what it's doing is it's emphasizing the importance of preparation and foresight to achieve success. I don't think anyone's going to be successful by accident. I don't think it's just going to happen. I guess 1 out of 13 million people that play the lottery win the lottery, but there's 99.99% of the people don't luck into it. So let's assume we're not going to be lucky. Let's assume that we need to have a plan and good execution. And so, again, today is a great time for us to think about that as we're entering in a new month and a new quarter. If you look at for-profit publicly traded companies, they typically have to report earnings on a quarterly basis. And there's some federal discussion to move that to every 6 months. But my point is, very large companies, they look at a quarter at a time. But most of us are quite smaller. So I think a good healthy time frame to look at is a month. So, for instance, we've got a number of you that had good numbers last month in September. And one of the easiest ways to measure how it went is to look at your bank statement. Business bank statements, and I think this is correct. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but I believe business bank statements always run on a calendar month basis, where personal bank statements, not necessarily. So theoretically, you can get up this morning, and if you do online banking, you can look to see what were your cumulative deposits last month and did it hit your goal. But I think the concern is, and that's what I'm trying to address, is some of us don't have quantifiable goals. We don't want to go into October without a quantifiable goal. So we certainly need to find the right metrics to measure by. I see Abner stating he's got a goal based upon the number of clients enrolled. So that is a good metric, a good definitive metric, right? If you're a reseller or a branch office, if a client has signed your contract, that is now AR to you. That's the first step there in getting paid. So that is a good metric. But even above and beyond number of clients enrolled, I think bank deposits are a crucially important metric that we should be tracking. So what we want to discuss today is, what is your plan? So we have now 642, four more people join, welcome. So let's assume that we all want to earn an adult income, because it's real easy to be broke, right? So why worry? Why put ourselves into any type of pressure or stress or put effort into being broke? Don't need to do that. We can just do nothing and be broke. So let's instead, I encourage all of us to set our income goal for October to be 100,000. Now, if that seems outlandish, that's because maybe you don't have any experience of earning good income, so it seems way out of realm of possibility, but it shouldn't be. Lots of people in our society make 100,000 a month. Many of our distribution partners make 100,000 a month. I'm here to suggest that all of you should make at least 100,000 in October doing something. And maybe it's being a distribution partner with us, maybe it's doing something else. And we're going to look at all options today. So our topic is, what is your plan? Not my plan, not my plan for me, not my plan for you. What is your plan to earn $100,000 in the month of October, this month? All right, so there are different options of how to make at least 100,000. I'm going to walk through how we could work together to reach that goal. Realistically, it's called SMART goals: specific, measurable, obtainable, realistic, timely. So we're not just creating some hopeful whim, but we want to have a plan to earn at least 100,000. There are many different ways to do that, and being a reseller is just one of those ways. So let's go ahead and look at 5 different ways that you or anyone else, not just specific to you, but that anyone can legally and ethically earn $100,000 in the month of October. Fair enough? So first we'll break down the reseller role as an option, and then we're going to look at 4 other options. And what I hope is that at the conclusion of our Zoom today, everyone feels motivated, empowered, committed to earning at least 100,000, doing whatever you want, and we're going to give you 5 different options today. So before I get into option 1, let's go ahead and get some audience participation, and then we'll dig into the content here. How many ways can you think of, if you can respond into the Q&A, it's like a chat box of Zoom, how many different ways can you think of legally and ethically earning $100,000 this month if you would type in? Do you have 1 idea, 2 ideas? You don't have to describe them. You don't have to give us your super secrets, your proprietary knowledge, but just how many ways are you considering as you're going into the new month to earn at least 100,000? And again, I'll show you how we're going to address 5 different ways that we can think of, and then I'm curious what your feedback is. All right, so Doug says 3. Doug has 3 options right now of how he can make 100,000 this month. That's great. So he's got options. He can compare and contrast. Chris says at least 4. So this is great. So again, for those of you that are kind of naysayers, it's great to see that, I'm not alone in this commentary. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's obtainable to make 100,000 a month as an entrepreneur. Kimberly says she's got 2 options she's considering for this month. Great. Farah has 6 different options. That may be the highest. Rod has 2. I think everyone that I'm seeing that's responding, that's participating, has at least 2 options to make at least 100,000 this month, and maybe they'll mix and match. But let's go ahead and go through option 1, and then we'll proceed. So becoming a Shelf Corp reseller, or operating as a reseller if you already are one. So I think when we look at income generation models, I don't think it's bad to spend money to make money. And most of us that have gone to law school or business school or whatever training you have, it's not unusual to pay to develop the skills and resources. But in this case, option 1 requires 0. 0 now, 0 later. So that passes a good litmus test, right? Because some people will say, well, it takes money to make money. I don't have any money, so I can't make any money. Well, that's not true for option 1. That might be true for options 2, 3, 4, and 5, which we've not gotten to yet. But for option 1, that's a no-go. That's a no-go. It's not a requirement to spend any money. Risk. You know what? My son's a sophomore in high school, and he's in the entrepreneurial business track at his high school. And they had definitions. I think it was the first week of school, and I don't remember this exactly, but the definition of an entrepreneur that was on his Friday quiz involved people that are willing to take risk. So in general, you can't be an entrepreneur if you're not willing to take some risk. You're better off to get a job, right? And someone else is taking the risk and has the potential of reward. So this is a real outlier. To be a reseller, other than I guess your time, I guess that is a risk, but there's no financial requirement, so there is no risk. No risk. What is the income potential of being a reseller? And again, I know some of you want to be a branch office. That's an advanced strategy, but this branch offices essentially include being a reseller plus more. So we're going to focus on the term reseller. So as a distribution partner, reseller, or branch office, certainly 100,000 per month is reasonable. And I think you and I both know it comes in 2 different forms, or two different types of income. As a reseller, you're paid upfront. If I can get that to go away, you're paid upfront plus 5 points off the client's back end. So you're paid twice. And that's important because when you can have immediate gratification, in other words, you help someone solve their problem today and you get paid today, that's great. Now, a lot of times in life, it's not that way, right? You're waiting days or weeks or sometimes months to get paid, depending upon the economic model, the economic engine you're working with. In our model that we're visiting about on option one, you're paid upfront today, today. And you, in fact, determine that amount on a per client basis. And if that doesn't make sense, let me know, but it's the model and you can learn more about it on the YouTube channel. Now, are there important considerations of option one? Absolutely. So we need to understand the structure of it, and then we'll go look at options two, three, four, and five. Now, there may be more, well, I'm sure there's more than five options for each of you to make 100,000 this month, but we're going to limit our discussion due to time to five. So as we think about being a reseller, and even if you have been a reseller, have you made 100,000 last month? If you're a reseller, did you earn at least 100,000 last month? If so, great. What you're doing seems to be working. Probably just keep doing it. If not, we need to step back and revisit. So, what are important considerations to become, to continue to be a reseller? Well, number one, we're solving a big problem. And that's typically the key in entrepreneurialism, isn't it? The bigger the problem that we can solve of other people's, the more we can make. And then we also want to look at competition. Are there other opportunities or other options that clients have that we have to compete against? I rarely hear any of our distribution partners saying, "Hey, I've got this prospect and they're down to us and one other option," because our value proposition is so different, which in fact we'll get to in a moment. I did want to brag a little bit on some recent numbers. So we just received data this morning, in fact, and we looked at fiscal year 2025. So some of you that don't understand, there's a difference between fiscal year and calendar year. Most of us that either are government entities or work off of government money, we typically run on an October 1st to September 30th fiscal year, where, of course, a calendar year I know is January through December. So we just wrapped up fiscal year 2025. And I know you might say, hey, it's still 2025, but if you're on a fiscal basis, now we're in fiscal year 2026 as of today. Don't be confused by that. But let's just say over the last 12 months, can we do that? Over the past 12 months, our lender partners have lent out $44.8 billion at an average pace of 320 loans per workday. So, in other words, don't count weekends, don't count holidays. That's pretty fucking significant, right? So, I love when we get the pessimist. Oh, no one gets funded. There is no funding. Banks don't want to loan money. That's ignorance. That's pessimism. That's untrue. So, as of today, the calculations that we have from the past fiscal year, here is what has been lent out to small businesses. Now, again, we're not the lenders, right? We're clarifying. How much of that did we loan out? Zero. We're not lenders, we're technical advisors. But this is pretty powerful. And I anticipate these numbers will be equal or greater going forward for the next year. So there's money out there, there's money available. But who gets the money? Qualified businesses, which you and I commonly refer to as fundable businesses. So it's not because we just want money or need money. We have to qualify. But my goodness, is there money flowing out to small businesses? Much more than many of us probably even realized. So with that being said, there are technical advisors like you and I. So what we do is not loan money, but what do? We provide clients a free shelf corp. We've talked about that, and that was under mandate number 2. We deliver clients funding offers typically within 7 to 10 days of enrollment, and normally they're getting their first tranche, their first round of funding within 2 weeks of enrollment. And that's great. We have Bilal on this morning. Bilal is an example of a client that came in And his first tranche offers were over 500,000. Now, he didn't accept all of them, I understand that, but even the first tranche can often be significant. It's not for everyone. The first tranche is more based on baseline credibility. But the nice thing is what you and I are doing generates results very quickly for the average client. And that also generates income for you because you're getting paid the processing fee that you determine when a client gets the free shelf court. Plus, you're getting paid, if you want to be, off the back end. And so these first tranches also generate commissions for you. So, furthermore, we assist clients in identifying the right type of funding based upon their wants, needs, and mitigating circumstances. A lot of words there, but the clients determine the funding that they want, and then we work with them to legally and ethically build the loan package. That's what we do as technical advisors, which is referenced here. And then what we do is we help them meet the underwriting guidelines. Because again, it's not too good to be true. It's not a farce. It's not a scam. Fundable businesses get funding. And oh my goodness, are they getting funded? So, with that being said, we have to pick the right type of funding based upon their situation, and then we have to build out the documentation and frankly help them meet those underwriting guidelines. That's what we do as technical advisors. What's great is we guarantee every client at least 100,000. And I know. Most people like 100,000. That's not worth my time. But that is a guaranteed minimum. It's not a maximum. So we can make sure that it's not a waste of time for the client, and that you're going to get enough. Because even at 100,000, with 5% off of the back end, you're at least getting 5,000 per client, plus whatever you're charging on the front end. Now, our average is closer to 1 million, but the bottom line is, should be worst case scenario, you make 5,000 for referring a client in. I don't know how much time you need to spend to do that. Let's say less than an hour because you're not responsible for implementation. Just doing quick math, I mean, that's the equivalent of 5,000 an hour. I don't know how many of you are currently making 5,000 an hour doing whatever you're doing, but this should be a reasonable alternative. Our grant subsidized model is designed to limit the average client's out-of-pocket expense to less than $500 for 1 million capital raise. Now, we've gone into this and broken that down in quite a bit of detail. If that doesn't make sense, let me know. And it's also in past trainings. But that's literally what we're attempting to do for an average, a typical client. They should be able to come in. We should be able to get them their shelf court for less than $500. And with that, everything else should be self-sustaining, especially because the average client should start receiving funding within 2 weeks. We have 100% success, but what that success is based upon is the clients participating. So what we can't have happen, and this has happened on occasion in the past, clients sign up and they kind of cross their arms and say, well, where's my money? Well, no, you're the CEO of your business. We need to collaborate with you. You're the client. We're the technical advisor. The client's going to be involved with the capital raise, of course. Now, you'll notice there's an asterisk here when we make this statement about the limitation of the client's out-of-pocket expense. There's frankly two assumptions that are made there, one of which is described here. First of all, you determine what the processing fee is if you're a branch office or a reseller. So if you're charging 1,000 or 5,000, you'd have to change that number, of course, to match whatever you're charging. When clients come directly to our website, either through guaranteedfunding.org, the landing page, or the website specifically, 509 Pacific, they're going to have an out of pocket to get the shelf court for less than 500, but I do realize you may change it. And then secondly, the second assumption again is, we're talking about what the typical client, the average client. So that doesn't mean that every client will have that small of an outlay, depending upon especially how well they do on their first tranche. So this helps us understand one option. So on average, we're doing $1 million capital raise. And of course, what does average mean? It means half is more, half is less. But if we just used averages, you should expect to generate about $50,000 per referred client. So if our goal is to make 100,000 per month, we need to have two clients. Now that's an awful small a number, and I would rather have a larger number because again, we're playing the law of numbers and averages. So I would say if we could do at least one a week, four in the month of October, we should very comfortably reach this dollar amount, one a week. So is this the only way that you can go out and make $100,000 this month in October? Absolutely not. But this is one of the ways. So let's evaluate this a bit and then we'll get into other options. What do you think are the pros and cons of this approach? So again, asking for your participation, asking for you to type into the Q&A, the question and answer. It's like a chat function of Zoom. What do you think are the pros and cons of this model? And right away, I see Doug. We've got several Dougs on, but I see Doug mention, yeah, it's no cost. So that's a huge pro. And of course, there's no risk. That's a huge pro. What other pros and cons can you think of? It's an option, not the only option. And again, for those of you that came on late, we asked in the beginning, how many different ways can you think of? We asked the audience, the participants, to earn at least 100,000. And most of you that responded said, hey, this is only one of the ways. So Rod again had two ways. Farah had six. Kimberly had two. Chris said at least four. Doug had three. So I know we're not the only show in town. And we are a 501c3 nonprofit. We're not going to be able to generate as much income for you as some other options. 100,000 a month, I think is completely doable, completely reasonable. But I know some of you, 100,000 a month's not even enough to get your interest. I've got Amanda on here, Brian Valley on here. Some of you, you wouldn't sharpen your pencil for only 100,000 a month. I respect that because of your historical earnings. But for the average person, not bad. So now let's go ahead and pivot before we run out of time. Let's look at your other options to make at least 100,000 this month. So we've got some blanks here to fill in, and I'm going to need your help because the truth is I'm not sure what these other options are, but I do know that you know some. So Rod, I hate to call you out, Rod, Mr. Francis, but you mentioned you knew two ways to make 100,000 in October. We've gone through one of the two. What is your other way, if you feel comfortable sharing with the group, Rod? What's the other way that you're considering now that we're on the first day of a new month, the first day of a new quarter? What else are you considering, Rod, to make 100,000 in October? Same for Farah. Farah, you've got six different options. Farah, you should be teaching today, not me, because you know more than I do. You can literally fill in all of these blanks. I don't know how to fill in these other blanks. I need your help, Farah. Can you tell me what other options that these folks might need to consider so they could follow in your footsteps to earn 100,000? Kimberly, you have two. Can you help us understand what's the other option that you're looking at with no risk, no investment to make 100,000 this month? So forth. Doug, you've got three. So I need your help at this point, audience, because you know things that I don't know. And okay, so Farah says wholesaling houses is another option. Okay, and this is Adobe. I created it in Word, but now it's saved in Adobe. So I don't know that I can type. Let's see. Yeah, it's not going to let me type. It's not editable. So uh, another option. Well, maybe it will. No, it's not going to let me type. Sorry, it's not editable. Adobe. So wholesaling houses is another option that Farah is considering, and so is Tajani. A number of you are actually. So that's great. Now, John, Mr. Stockton mentioned ABL. So sure, ABL helping clients through this model already fits. So if what you're thinking, John, or Chris or others are thinking about ABL and helping clients get large capital raises, that is what we're talking about already. So that's not a different option. That's this option. But I'm curious, for those of you that came in with a lot of confidence, which I'm appreciative of and humbled by, several of you are saying, hey, you've got a lot of different ways that you can make 100,000 this month. Now, not going to call you out, but I'm assuming if you've got a lot of options to make 100,000 this month, you probably made close to 100,000 last month, which is great. You're probably one of the top 1% earners in the United States. But for most of us, I don't know what these other options are. And if you can help bring those in, we can educate everyone on these other options. All right, Kimberly says real estate and reselling. Okay. So I guess I'm not speaking in general about here are industries that someone theoretically could go make money, but I'm asking you, Kimberly, can you go make 100,000 in the month of October with real estate? Or do you have a plan to do that? I think it's my fault. That's where there's a disconnect. I'm trying to lay out specific implementable options for us each to make 100,000 in October, where some of you have generalized it and said, well, I know of a concept. Well, if you're not able to go implement that concept, I guess we'll have to wait until Halloween, October 31st, to see if you hit 100,000. And I wish you all success. I can assure you that this will work. We can do this together. But if you have other options, I respect that. So let's kind of wrap it up. Our goal today is to recognize we're on an important day. We're the first day of October, which is the first day of a calendar month. We're also in the first day of the fourth quarter of the year. It's a great time to plan. We don't want to just try to luck or hope our way into having a good six-figure month. We need to have a plan. And just knowing of some industry is not a plan. That's not a plan. That's just some generalized knowledge. So we want to walk away with a plan that you can implement and come back to us. So again, Kimberly's insistent, and I'm with her. She believes that she will make 100,000 this month in real estate, and that's great. I want you to do that, Kimberly. But do you mind coming back on Halloween or the first session in November, and let's reconcile? So I'm issuing you each a challenge, whatever way you want to do it, legal and ethical. Let's go all make at least 100,000 this month. I know I will, and I trust that you will too. But take that challenge, whichever way you want to approach. If it's with option one, let's work together and do it. If you have better options, which it sounds like Kimberly and some of you have, then great, go do it. But frankly, I can't imagine many of you are making 100,000 a month doing other things than sitting on the Zoom this morning. But that's up to you. Let's just go have a great month. We cannot fall into the pessimistic mindset that, oh, no one's getting funding. That's crazy talk. We just finished fiscal year 2025, and here are the objective numbers. 44.8 billion in guaranteed loans, an average of 320 loans every workday, weekdays minus no weekends, no holidays. So the money's there. We've got a great program. It's great for the client. They have minimal out of pocket. Frankly, you control how much they have out of pocket, but it could be as little as $500 to help them have a big boy capital raise. All right, thanks everyone. Let's go execute. The key is to execute, not to talk, but we need to walk the walk. We need to implement. Money is made through implementation, not just thinking and talking about it. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.